How are hadith graded? So Yasser Qadi made headlines. He stated that no scholar of Western academia accepts hadith. Well, I'm not here to prove to you that hadiths are true with this video, since that's a whole other conversation, and I'm honestly just a layman, so definitely take what I say with a heavy grain of salt, as I always repeat myself. And I'll keep doing that. Take it with a heavy grain of salt. The hadiths, nonetheless, are significant to the majority of Muslims, Shia or Sunni, except, well, if you're this guy. For those that want to understand hadith, though, finding it significant regardless of what Yasser said, I'm here to talk about how to navigate hadiths from my layman understanding thus far, I'll reference my source, of course, in the description of my video. I'll never forget the sources, I hope, inshallah. So let's begin. So there are three general gradings. The first grading is daif. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Daif, maybe. That's how you say it. My Arabic is not too great. And that means weak. This is when the narrators are not of sound memory or sound character. So every narrator, there's a chain of narrations, right? And it's leading up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these narrators, they have a certain reputation behind them, right? And they're known for not having great sound memory and sound character, which can affect the entire makeup of the actual hadith, like the reliability. So that's why they're considered a daif. Another reason for daif is if the chain or narrators is broken, or like I said, it doesn't reach up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions reliably, but was rather heard from the earliest person was probably a generation or something after him. So we really don't know if it really came from his lips, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second is Hasan. Hasan means good. It's stronger than daif. It is those that have characteristics where transmission is through an unbroken chain of narrators reaching up to the Prophet ﷺ reliably, and the narrators have sound character, except the memory is weak or of questionable authority, I believe. So it suffers from minor deficiency, and it can also be a weak report that's strengthened due to numerous other corroborating reports, right? So in this case, Hasan, it's sound character, so good character, but the memory is weak, and the chain of narrations is reaching up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The third is Sahih. Now this is the highest possible grading. Sahih means sound, so having characteristics that give it much reliability according to the authenticator, which includes having transmission through an unbroken chain of narrators that have not only sound character, but also sound memory. So both sound character and sound memory. And it reaches up to the Prophet ﷺ, a perfect chain of narrators. It's important to note, though, these hadiths should not conflict with a more reliable report and contain no defects, I believe, right? So in my previous video, the two things left behind, I mentioned Tirmidhi's hadith and emphasized this grading being Sahih. As a layman, this is the grading that is most authentic, right? That a hadith can achieve, which is why I emphasized that it was the only hadith graded by this degree, referring to the Quran and Ahlul Bayt to be the last two things left behind. Again, giving it weight that these were, again, the last two things rather than the Quran and Sunnah. My sources are, again, in the description.